Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to tonight's event. We are so excited to be kicking off the week with Amy LaBelle of the LaBelle Winery. We're a little bit close to home. For me especially, actually, I live in Milford. The winery is in Amherst, so it's practically walking distance from my house, which is great. So tonight on the line, you have me, Carol Ann, your moderator. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave a comment on Facebook or in the chat on Zoom, and I will answer your questions or share them with Amy or Lisa, because we have Lisa from our wine marketing team on the line as well tonight. So welcome to everybody joining us. Welcome, Amy and Lisa. And Amy, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so excited for tonight's wine tasting and cocktail. How's that for an amazing way to kick off the week, guys? We've got wines, we've got a cocktail, we have a little bit of everything to kick off this week. So, Amy, I am gonna, pass the torch to you, pass the wine glass your way, and let's get started with the tasting. Everybody is so excited.
All right, well, good evening. Thank you so much for having me tonight on your program to talk a little bit about wine in particular and New Hampshire wine especially. I really appreciate my partnership with the New Hampshire Liquor Commission, and I appreciate you shining the light on New Hampshire wines tonight. Thank you. So I'm going to start by, I guess, talking just a little bit about the background of LaBelle Winery and how we got where we are. Hello to everybody at home. I know it's Monday, but it's totally cool to have a little bit of wine to kick off our week. It's been a hard year, and we're in a very stressful season leading up to Christmas. So I think a little wine tasting tonight is going to kick us off just right. Let me tell you a little bit about LaBelle Winery. We opened here in our flagship facility in Amherst, New Hampshire, in October of 2012. But that isn't the beginning of the story. The story goes all the way back, and I'll make this quick because I want to get right to the wines, but just for a little history, the story goes back to actually 2001. The summer of 2001, I was traveling up in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I was on a little vacation from my day job. I used to be a lawyer, actually, before I was a winemaker. And so I was on vacation from my job as a lawyer at Fidelity Investments. And I went to Nova Scotia on the ferry, took my car, was driving up the east coast of Nova Scotia, and I happened upon a sign that had an arrow on it. The arrow was like painted, it was hand lettered, and it said, winery this way. And it was like a white painted arrow. And I had time because I was on vacation, I didn't have to be anywhere, so I went that way. And I drove down this kind of little dirt road to a teeny tiny winery, and I went inside. They were making blueberry wine that day, 2 kinds of blueberry wine. And so I ended up tasting these wines and looking around this place, and I had what can only be described as a light bulb moment. The lightning bolts came down from the sky, the angels appeared, and I said, oh my gosh, I think I missed my calling. I think I'm supposed to do this, which was not very much a rational thought at that time. I had only been practicing law 5 years. I had just gotten my dream job in downtown Boston as senior legal counsel at Fidelity Investments. And I still had $103,000 in student loan debt from law school. So it wasn't something I could just take off and go start my winery, So I began that day, from that day forward, just taking little steps to build toward being able to open my own winery. And that's why I always say here at LaBelle, it took me 4,083 days to get the doors of LaBelle Winery open. And that's about 12 years and a quarter, don't do the math. It took that long because I had to go slow, I had to pay off that student loan debt, and I had to learn how to make wine, small matter, which I did at UC Davis in California. I went ahead and got my wine degree at night and on weekends, and by traveling there when I could, at one of the most prestigious wine schools in the world, UC Davis, California. And so that was really helpful too, to make sure that I had the chemistry underlying my winemaking, not just the art part, which is, always in balance in winemaking. So all those years I had to get my wine degree, learn how to make wine, I had to save my money, and I had to develop a business plan. And so all of those great things took all that time, 4,083 days. And that brings us to our present day. We opened in 2012. We've been here for 8 years now, and we've been making New Hampshire wines ever since. Before that time, I made wine in a barn behind my home, and I invited people to once a month tasting there. So we started small, and we just started adding wholesale accounts as we could, working in partnership with the Liquor Commission, of course, to get into the Liquor Commission stores and get some more exposure throughout the state. So just growing little by little by little, and always just taking it one customer at a time. I always was convinced that if I could just get the wine into somebody's palate, let them try it, that they'd fall in love with it, and they'd realize that we're doing good things here in New Hampshire. So that's the basics of the story. When we opened our flagship location here in New Hampshire, in Amherst, we were able to also open a restaurant and event center with it. So we'd love to host you here anytime. If you haven't been to the winery, please do come in, take a walk through our art gallery. We're always featuring New Hampshire artists here, have lunch or dinner in the restaurant, do a wine tasting, an educational wine tasting with one of my sales associates. They'll help you learn a lot about wine in the process. Take a tour. On the weekends, we do tours every hour on the hour. And we'd really love to host you and just get you immersed here. You can check out the vineyard. It's kind of bare now because it's winter, but it's always a fun fact to know that even in the winter, inside the little baby grapevines, there are teeny tiny grape seeds waiting to come out next May. They're already there. They just got to make it through the winter, just like us. So that's the basics and the background of LaBelle Winery. Any questions so far, Carolyn? Anything you'd like me to touch on, or can we dive into some wine?
So no questions yet, but before we dive into the wines, I do want to let everybody know that little bit of history that Amy just shared with you, that's going to be important later on. We're going to be doing a giveaway of a book from the winery, and the trivia question that you'll have to answer, she may have just given you the answer to. And just on a personal note, I would like to add that my now fiance and I have been to the winery for brunch many of Valentine's days, and it is great food, great sparkling mimosas with the cranberry is my favorite, so highly recommend it.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of our menu in the restaurant here at LaBelle. It's a farm table restaurant. We've got 3 acres of vines growing on site, but also about an acre of our own vegetables that we use in the restaurant. So it's a really special place. We're also, collecting our own honey from our own honeybee hives. It's just as much as we can do to get it. We call it like extreme local, growing our own stuff. It's really fun. All right, so let's dive into some wine. Hopefully you all have some wine at home. I was asked first to talk a little bit about our Seyval Blanc. The Seyval Blanc is one of my favorite grapes to work with. It is, first of all, a grape I can grow in New Hampshire, and I do grow in our Far Vineyard. I'm pointing because I'm at the winery. I've been here all day. It's been a long day. We were working on Gewürztraminer today, which is also available at the New Hampshire State liquor stores. And we finished the final blend for this year's Gewürztraminer, which is going to be yummy. So we're going to move on to a holiday favorite. And this is kind of just a fun wine. It's not meant to be super serious. This is a wine that we can enjoy either on its own, as we're about to do, or it also makes really good cocktails. And we're going to make a cocktail with this wine. So I'm going rogue. We're making cocktails. So it's Monday night, and we've got 5 wines and a cocktail. Awesome. So this is our cranberry wine. This is one of the wines that people think of, so really associate with LaBelle Winery. And I think the popularity of this wine has a lot to do with our New England region, its popularity around the holidays, and also its use in the cranberry wine cosmopolitan that we're about to make. One thing that sets our fruit wines apart from other fruit wines that you might have experienced in the past is that LaBelle fruit wines are made with 100% the fruit. So sometimes you've had things in the past that were like peach Chardonnay or something like that, or apple Pinot Grigio. Typically those are wines that are produced with some kind of grape wine base with a flavoring agent added, so some kind of concentrate added. In the case of our cranberry wine, LaBelle cranberry wine is made from not any concentrates or flavoring agents, but rather 100% cranberries. So we like to just kind of stick with the whole fruit and nothing but the fruit, as they say. So 100% fermented cranberries from Massachusetts. We We ferment them just like a grape wine, so we give them the same respect and love as a grape wine. We treat them, seriously as we do any of our wines. This wine is fun. It's meant to be, again, not too serious. It's very acidic. So as you know, cranberries are very tart. That's because they have a lot of citric acid in them, and that acid expresses on your palate as a really sharp, bright acidity. So for that reason, cranberry wine's awesome with things like Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas turkey or ham or things that have a lot of heaviness to them. So, we talked about this a little bit with the Seyval Blanc. And for the same reason, cranberry wine is really good with heavy foods because it gives your palate a rest. It lets your palate take a break from, say, really heavy turkey gravy or heavy beef gravy or goose, at a Christmas table. And it just kind of gives your palate a refresh. So let's taste our cranberry wine and then we'll talk about a cocktail. Here again, you want to hold by this is probably wants to be chilled as well, maybe 40 degrees, 45 degrees. And then when you are ready to pour it and enjoy it, you want to give that a swirl. You want to hold it by the stem so you don't warm up the glass with your hand. In the case of the reds, it's not as important, and we'll get to that. But on this one, hold by the stem, give it a swirl. You can practice this with water if you want to get good at it. Some people like to hold a glass by the base when they swirl it, and that's kind of fancy too. And then we're going to stick our nose right in, take a smell, see what we're about to experience and enjoy. That gives you a lot of clues about what's coming because a lot of our taste is in the aroma, right? We know that when you have a cold and you can't smell, you can't really taste your food as well either. And that's because your nose has a lot to do with what you're tasting. So let's taste it. Tastes like cranberries, I'm guessing. Yep, 100% cranberries, but turned into wine. So we love that. Sometimes cranberry wine gives me a little tiny bit of kind of like rose overtones or some florals too, which this is giving me just a hint of today. So that's fun on its own. I like to drink the cranberry wine with a meal, but I really like to make a cocktail with it. So I'm going to show you what I got. This is just a standard shaker, open top shaker. It's filled with ice. This is a Boston shaker top. I love these glasses because they're, it's just a regular pint glass, right? But it's super thick and it's pretty indestructible and I'm pretty clumsy, so I like these. And they fit right into your shaker and it makes a really simple, easy shaker, right? So the Cranberry Cosmo recipe, I'm gonna hold it up to the screen in case you wanna take a screenshot because you're gonna wanna make this. I'm holding this up for a second. Screenshot that if you want. All right, that's what we're making. If you didn't get that, let me know and we'll do it again. So we've got a shaker full of ice. We're gonna dump in 4 ounces of LaBelle cranberry wine. This one only works with LaBelle cranberry wine only, so I don't know. No other wines seem to work. I don't know why. We're gonna do, we have to do 1 ounce of triple sec or Cointreau or some orange flavor liqueur that you love. Cointreau triple sec is fine. Cointreau is a little bit better quality and you can put in what you like. But you wanna get that little bit of orangey sweetness to it. And then you want 1 ounce of fresh lime juice. In this case, fresh lime juice is pretty important when you're making a recipe that has few ingredients. And this is just a few quick things you're gonna throw in here and shake. Few ingredients, you want the ingredients to be of excellent quality. So you can't kind of hide a bad ingredient in something with just a few ingredients, right? So in this case, don't buy the little plastic lime full of, I don't know what that is. It's not lime juice. You know what I'm talking about. Get the real stuff. Get a lime, squeeze it. You only need 1 ounce. So it's like one lime's worth if you get a good juicy lime. Use the real stuff. And then you need some either simple syrup or agave nectar or some white sugar. However you want to handle your sweetener is fine. I actually used agave and I had already added it to my cranberry. I like to use a little bit of agave nectar instead of white sugar. And I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you that I think agave nectar is a little lower on the glycemic index scale and it doesn't kind of hit my blood sugar super hard. So I prefer agave in this cocktail. And I like the flavor of it, it's yummy. So then you just pop your top on there, give it a shake until you see a little frost develop on this glass. And I guess I might shake it for an extra 5 or 10 seconds beyond that if I was at home. I like that to be really cool. And then pour it off. And you can enjoy a beautiful cranberry wine cosmopolitan. What I love about this drink, like I said earlier, is that it doesn't have quite the alcoholic punch of a Cosmo that's based in vodka. That's what they're usually based in. So this is a little lighter. You can enjoy one and not have to worry about your friends or people driving home. And I think they're delicious. So cheers. Hope you have one at home.
That looks so good. I love LaBelle's cranberry wine. It really goes so well with everything, especially Thanksgiving dinner.
Thank you. Yes, it's definitely, we've declared it Cranberry Wine Week during Thanksgiving week. It's become so popular. So we have a steady stream of people through the winery to pick up their cranberry wine, and hopefully at the liquor stores too. Did anybody else need the recipe? We have that. We're good?
Yes, can you just hold it up for one more second?
Sure.
Cindy here on Zoom wants to make one at home, and so she wanted to make sure she had the recipe. You go, Cindy.
Cindy, I'll enjoy it with you.
Amy, do fruit wines have a specific shelf life?
So fruit wines age just along the same lines as a white wine, unless it's blueberry. Blueberry wine has a ton of natural tannin in it, and they actually age along the lines of a red wine. So they'll get better year over year over year. 10 years. I've had some blueberry wines from LaBelle that are 10, 11, 12 years old, and they're beautiful. They age beautifully. But you know, the apple wine, cranberry wine is very acidic. So aging has a lot to do with the pH of a wine and how long it will age. Because cranberry wine is pH is so low, it's got so much acid, it actually ages for quite some time. So, you know, 5-6 years, they're good for in the bottle. And then especially on the apple wines, whose pH is pretty high, I'd say 5 years would be the max on that. But I definitely have apple wines in my wine cellar that are older than that. And if I feel like they're slightly past their peak, I always can use them for sangria or something, you know, or to cook with. I never let wine go to waste. Never, never.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Let's see here. Oh, for the Sauvignon Blanc that you tasted first, we do have a few questions from those who joined on Facebook who were having some trouble. So we're glad that you guys were able to get back on with us. It does look like Facebook is having some East Coast outages. That's how they're referring to it right now. So we're glad that you're back on with us. But we've had a couple of questions. And one is how is that wine aged and for how long?
Sure. Thanks for the question. The Sauvignon Blanc is a grape that we grow here at LaBelle in our vineyard, and we also source from the Finger Lakes of New York. We ferment that wine in stainless steel tanks, and it is not aged in oak, so it stays and ages off in the stainless steel. You know, we rack it several times during the fermentation process to help it clarify. We don't really like to slam our wines through filters at LaBelle. We kind of let them do their own natural clarification, only at the end filtering out the last little bits to make sure that wine is super bright in the bottle for you. So a Sauvignon takes about like 9 months or so to age out in tank and get into the bottle. And that's you know, the white wines are a little quicker in that regard, unless it's a Chardonnay that we're putting in barrel for a little additional time.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you have next for us?
Our next wine is this Granite State Red. This is also carried in the New Hampshire state liquor stores. It's one of the first red wines I ever made here in New Hampshire. And I wanted it to be, you know, a very New Hampshire representation of red wine. And so for this, I used a grape that's capable of being grown in New Hampshire. What does that mean? Well, you know, you may have noticed, but New Hampshire's kind of cold, right? And we're not California, so I can't grow Cabernet Sauvignon here. It's, you know, that's gonna die off at about 15 degrees above zero. So it would die every single year here because I literally have a night in the vineyard every year, at least one night that's kind of down around -15, right? We always get that one little cold snap. And I've actually gone down to, we recorded 2 nights that were -18 in the vineyard. So those would never live here. So we have to grow cold hardy grapes in New Hampshire, grapes that are capable of withstanding our cooler temperatures in the winter. It's not our summer season that's really the issue. And that's always what people ask me. They're like, oh, our growing season, oh, it doesn't get warm enough. That's not really the issue. The issue is our winters. So I need a really hardy plant that can get through our cold winters. And luckily, in the last 20 years, the advances in grape science have allowed us to begin to graft cold hardy rootstock with wine grape tops. So that's what, the Seyval Blanc that I grow here, for example, that we were just talking about. That grape is has Sauvignon Blanc as a parent grape. So Sauvignon Blanc I cannot grow here, but it's half of the lineage, if you will, of the Seyval Blanc, and it's been connected with a rootstock that is cold hardy and capable of withstanding our winters. So I can grow it here, but it tastes a lot like Sauvignon Blanc, but it's got this other parent grape that blends in there. So I wanted to make a wine from New Hampshire that really represented this concept of cold hardy grapes. That's what they're called. And Maréchal Foch was the one that came to mind. Maréchal Foch is a cold hardy grape. It was one of the very first hybrids developed in France that is good to theoretically 25 degrees below zero. I sourced this grape from the Finger Lakes region as well. They've been growing Maréchal Foch for years, decades there. And I wanted to make it very New Hampshire, so I blended it with 20% blueberry wine from New Hampshire high bush blueberries from Taylor Brown Blueberry Farm up in Alton Bay. And I've been working with Patty up there at Taylor Brown for 1,000,000 years now. She's great. She always sends me her greatest fruit. And that's what's really nice about this industry. It's one of the hidden joys of this industry are all the relationships that we get to develop with our growers and our partners, and how much we all have to work together to bring to you this beautiful product that we all love so much. So Patty, if you're listening, shout out to you. Thank you for your awesome blueberries. You cannot make good wine from bad fruit. And Patty really understands this concept. And when she sends me my boxes of grapes, I buy 3,000 pounds of grapes at a time, blueberries at a time from her. And when she sends me the boxes, there's never a stick or a rock or a leaf in there. That's always just beautiful blueberries. So that's important in your partnerships. And so all of my partners are this way. We've worked over the years to develop these relationships with growers who are excellent at their craft and allow us to focus on being good at our craft too. So Maréchal Foch is 80% of this wine. It's one of the only grapes on the planet only red grapes on the planet that's actually red inside too. So fun fact about red wines are not made from red juice. They are made from the grape juice, which is typically white, and they get their color from the skins, which are red. Maréchal Foch is one of the exceptions. It's red all the way through. So it's deeply pigmented, really interesting to look at, and it stains the heck out of my hands during harvest. So we're going to taste this wine. If you have it with you, please give it a swirl and give that a taste, and you'll note some really earthy, beautiful tones. This also has a bright acidity. Oh, that smells great. This one's aged in French oak, not for too long. I don't want to kill this wine with oak because it's a lighter red. So just a couple, 3-4 months, maybe this gets for oak. And I don't put this in first use barrels. I always put this in a barrel that's already been used at least once or twice. So it knocks back the impact of that oak. First use barrel is very strong, and I save that for things like Americus, which we'll taste in a minute, or my really big reds like Petit Verdot or Malbec. They need first use oak. Maréchal Foch does not. So it just kind of needs a light brush of oak to round out the tannins and make sure that your palate gets a really rounded experience. So we're going to smell this. That French oak on this wine expresses as a nice bit of vanilla character. So not sweet, but if you smell a vanilla bean, you don't really get sweetness, but you get that beautiful kind of vanilla enveloping your aroma profile. And on this wine, it's really fun because you get the grape structure across your palate, but then you've got the brightness of the blueberry kind of rounding out the finish on it, which is kind of fun. The blueberry gives you like a tiny bit of sprucey, almost foresty note And so if you can pick that up in this wine, it's fun to try to find that as well. So that's our Granite State Red. This wine's lovely with things like, it's almost kind of like drinks like a Chianti. So it's a lighter red, it's got a lot of acid. I think this wine is awesome with lasagna or Italian food for that reason. But I also love it with a charcuterie board, olives, nice salamis, something like that.
Amy, personal question. I'm making deep dish pizza for dinner tonight. Do you think it would go good with that?
Oh, absolutely. It would be fantastic. But you know what's surprisingly good with pizza too is the cranberry wine.
Well, you don't have to try and convince me. Your cranberry wine goes good with everything.
Thank you. But yeah, so you've got deep dish pizza, which is, again, heavy and rich, and you've got kind of, oils and probably pepperoni oil in there. All good flavors, all awesome stuff. The acid in this wine or in the cranberry wine will, kind of lift that up for you. It's going to be awesome.
All right, Ryan, if you're watching, go pick up a bottle before dinner tonight.
Get two, Ryan, just in case.
One of our viewers here on Zoom is wondering if you can share the alcohol percentage of the wines that you're tasting tonight.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for the question. All LaBelle wines fall within the range of about 12%. The Granite State Red, I think, falls right at 12%. I don't have the bottle right in front of me, but none of them are overly alcoholic. Meaning, so sometimes when you have a grape wine from a warm region or, a hotter region, they develop more sugar when the grapes are ripening. And your alcohol percentages are a direct correlation to how much sugar the grape starts with. Because sugar during a fermentation, I don't want to get all sciencey, but I do love chemistry. But I don't want to geek out on you too much. But sugar in a fermentation, once yeast is introduced to it, the sugar will convert directly to alcohol. So there's like a direct correlation. There's math I can do to say, okay, I started with this much sugar, I've got this much alcohol at the end, if all the sugar ferments out. And so, our grapes in the Northeast region especially don't have that huge growing season where they're going to develop 25, 26% sugar. They usually come in at about 22. So the direct correlation of that math and that fermentation process will lead me to about 12% alcohol in general. And we try to keep it right around there. So that's where you get your California wines, where they grow in a hotter region, they have a longer growing season. They can come in at 26, 27% sugar. And then that's where you get those 14 or 14.5% alcohols in the bottle. And sometimes that's great and warranted in a beverage, but in our lighter style reds from the Northeast, not as much.
Great. And so Terry on Facebook is wondering if you offer workshops on winemaking.
Absolutely. We are actually developing an online workshop where you can learn to make wine at home in kind of a series class. So if you can sign up for our newsletter on the LaBelle Winery website, it's labellewinery.com. We will be sending out newsletter updates on how to sign up for that class real soon.
Terry, I will get that link and post it in the comments for you while Amy does taste some more wines with us.
We also do, Terry, we also do wine tasting classes. We do wine tasting and food pairing classes. We do tons of culinary classes, and some of those are going to be going online soon as well. And we do, one of our most fun classes at the winery is a blindfolded wine tasting, where if you're local, you come in person and we actually taste wine blindfolded. So you're blindfolded for an hour, you get to taste 5 different wines, and we pair those with some kind of aroma trigger. And we learn about how to pull out aromas and identify aromas in your wine tasting. It's a lot of fun. Any other questions, Carol Ann?
We've got a few more that we can save till the end.
All right, you got it. So I'm going to move on. I think our next wine is Americus. This is our 4th wine if you're playing along at home. And, the Americus is the biggest, boldest red wine that the Liquor Commission carries, that's in the New Hampshire State liquor stores. We make 2 more wines at LaBelle that are bigger and bolder still, red wines that are Petit Verdot, and a Malbec. But this Americus, this is kind of like our flagship red. I love this wine, and it's a beautiful blend of 50% Cabernet Franc, if you're familiar with that grape, and 50% of a grape that's lesser known, but it's one of those French hybrid grapes that I can grow here on property. And that grape is called Noiret, Noiret, Noiret. And what I love about Noiret is that it has a really rich kind of black pepper tone to it. So it gives you this bold, spicy note. And when you blend it with the very elegant Cabernet Franc, you get kind of this really great balance between those, the Noiret, which is a little rough and kind of like outspoken, and the Cabernet Franc, which is like soft and violins. So they play nicely together for that reason, I think. I'm sure my wine descriptions are making people at home laugh, but that's how it works in my head. That's how a winemaker's head works. So we want to again pick up our glass and swirl it. We're not as worried about warming up this glass because it's a red. I like to drink the reds at 55 or 60 degrees. And again, for those of you who joined late, just that little tip on white wines, if you take them out of your fridge about a half an hour before you're going to serve them, I think that's optimum for your temperature to serve white wines at. You know, you don't want to serve a white wine right out of the fridge at 38 degrees. It's way too cold for you to really appreciate the aromas. The colder that wine is, I mean, unless it's terrible wine, then you want it as cold as possible, because then you can't get all the flavors and aromas. The colder it is, the less you taste. So you want that to warm up just a little bit so you can really, really enjoy it. All right, so Americus, we're gonna taste this. We're gonna give it a swirl, we're gonna smell and see what we find. And there's that black pepper. And of course, this Americus is aged in first use oak barrels, meaning, you know, I buy the barrels from France, they send them to me, they have toasted them to my desired toast level. And, you know, we require a medium toast French oak for this wine. You can go heavy toast for really big, bold red wines, and that's just not necessary for this wine. A medium toast is adequate. So that toast level in the first usage of the barrel really influences the wine's flavors and aromas. And so they literally light a fire inside the barrel and they toast the inside of the wood. And so you're getting here, that brings out caramel tones and kind of toasted oak. In some barrels, it'll bring out, like American oak barrels, it'll bring out coconut tones. And for this wine, it definitely has, like, not smoke, but there's definitely kind of that leathered tone, smoke, a little bit of smoky tone that goes into this wine because it's a first use barrel. So I love the structure of this wine too. And this wine really makes, and the tannin, there's a really nice mid palate structure here. There's great tannins in this wine. Gives the wine a nice structure and body on your palate. Still has some nice bright acidity to it because of that Noiret. The French hybrids tend to have a little higher acid. And so for that reason, this is awesome with a grilled steak. Like a nice ribeye that has a bunch of marbling and some awesome crispy parts. This wine makes that steak just sing. So that's the Americus.
Amy, when you aren't growing your own grapes, are you allowed to tell us where you're getting them from?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got, you know, a billion of, I've got a bunch of really great partners on the grape side. I get some of my grapes from Walker Family Farms, some from Doyle Family Vineyards. I get a whole bunch out from Washington State as well. I worked a little bit with some California wineries this year to do some experiments with some new growers. We're going to see how those come out. I've kind of shied away from using California grapes, preferring to be on the East Coast or in Washington State. But let's see. Last year, we worked with some farms in Massachusetts. I mean, we've got maybe 12 different grower partners that we use. And there is a link on our website to all of our local farms that we use if you want more information on that.
Cool. So I did post the link to the LaBelle website on Facebook. I'm going to post it here on Zoom as well for anybody who is interested. I know Terry was interested in taking some classes. And to sign up for the newsletter to get notified of those, you just scroll down to the bottom of the homepage and there's the email sign up on the right-hand side.
Awesome. Terry, we'll see you soon.
Well, that's actually a great segue because somebody else has asked if you've had to modify your schedule based on the current situation in the world.
What situation?
I don't know. What could be happening?
We modified everything on Earth this year to accommodate this awful situation we're all in. And yes, so for LaBelle, you know, obviously there were changes required in the restaurant and on the event side. The winemaking marches on. One thing that really kept us sane through the spring, you know, when the initial shutdowns happened, was the fact that nature continues to march on. And so the vineyard still needed pruning and tending. You know, it still needed to be coaxed into its bud break in early May. We still needed to make sure that we were taking care of the property. So that really kept us on task. That was good for us, you know, in that time of uncertainty when we were closed. And so we cared for the vineyard and we continued our winemaking efforts. You know, the wine doesn't stop either. You know, wine has to be racked and moved and put in barrel and taken out of barrel. And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's happening in the wine cellar all year long. So that really kept us on task. But in terms of the class schedule, for example, that's one thing that changed a lot. I used to teach only one culinary class and maybe one wine related class here a month. And we found that this summer, our community really was looking for fun things to do and everything else was closed. So we were trying to fill that gap for our community and making sure that we could still be a resource for fun experiences that were safe. So what we ended up doing was there were weeks when we had 3 or 4 classes, or one week this summer, I remember we had 8 classes total because I had a bunch of adult classes and we did children's cooking classes as well, where kiddos got to learn how to make pizza and meatballs and all kinds of fun things, socially distanced and safe. But we definitely ramped up our class schedule this year to accommodate the demand of folks just looking for some fun experiences. So all kinds of fun experiences at LaBelle, and you know, we've modified them all to fit the current situation.
Awesome, thank you. So before we move on, I do want to mention to everybody what tonight's code word is for your virtual passports. So tonight we have Amy LaBelle from LaBelle Winery on the phone. So do you want to guess what the code word is tonight? It's LaBelle. So enter that into your virtual passport to earn 100 points for attending tonight's event. So after you're done getting your 100 points, who wants to get a cookbook? Amy, could you ask our trivia question?
All right. For this fine looking cocktail, this is a book full of wine cocktail recipes. There's not even any food in here. It's all cocktails. So you can see where my priorities are. But this is a fun book because it gives you the story behind all of the cocktails and how they were developed and why they were developed. So the trivia question for tonight's winner is, what do we decide? Oh, where did I get my inspiration to become a winemaker?
Jennifer Fitzgerald, you are quick. Congratulations, you are the winner of the non-cookbook recipe book. I'm sorry I called it a cookbook before. Force of habit.
No, all good. Cocktails count as dinner, don't they?
Yeah. So Jennifer, I am going to put my email address in the chat box so you can email me your mailing address, please, and we will get you your book.
Awesome. Congratulations, Jennifer. All right. And then we have one last wine. Do we have time for it?
Of course.
All right. This one's easy. This is another one of those fun wines. This is a fruit wine. You know, we only make a few fruit wines at the winery, but there are 3 of them carried at the New Hampshire State liquor stores. This is our red raspberry wine, and this is 100% red raspberries. And the aroma on this wine, I can smell it already, and I'm not even near the glass really. It is so, smacks you right in the face with raspberries. It is all like a fresh bowl of juicy summer raspberries. 100% raspberries fermented, just like a red grape. So they're fermented on their skins. We, extract all the awesome raspberry flavor we can. I love to sip this wine maybe after my kids go to bed with some chocolate in my hand. I think it's awesome with cheesecake or creme brulee. And this wine is also really, really great to cook with. So sometimes I'll put this wine in a saucepan and reduce it down to a syrup, removing a lot of the volume of the liquid, ending up with kind of a raspberry wine syrup. Then you can coat a duck breast or a salmon with it, and it's just spectacular. So you can also use that syrup to swirl through some vanilla ice cream if you like to make ice cream at home, and you have raspberry wine ice cream. So this is a really fun ingredient for lots of different reasons. Also makes fun cocktails. There's a couple of those in the book as well. But let's taste it if you have some at home. Give this a swirl, and the aroma is unmistakable on this one. It's so awesome. And I've been making this one for a million years. This was one of my first wines, and it was my first wine to win Best in Show at the Eastern States Regionals wine competition. So out of something like 3,000 entries or whatever, this wine got the most points. And I think it's because it smells so darn good. But yeah, that was fun. That was early in my winemaking career, so it made me feel validated early on. That was good. And that is really, really delicious. So I hope you all had some of that at home when you were able to enjoy it. And if not, please consider picking up a bottle to enjoy over the holidays at the New Hampshire State Liquor Store. Or come on over to LaBelle and see me.
Amy, one of our viewers is wondering if you have a martini recipe to go with the red raspberry wine.
Yes, there is a martini in the book. No, it might be no, let me think. No, it's a daiquiri. It's a daiquiri in the book. So this wine makes a very delicious daiquiri, not the kind with the frozen ice swirled in a blender, but a real daiquiri with, fresh lime and shaken with ice. So there is a nice raspberry daiquiri in the book. But I mean, you certainly can make a Cosmo with the raspberry wine. It'll be delicious.
Mm.
Oh, this is nice too. Caesar, thank you. If you want this recipe, raspberry champagne cocktail, we do half red raspberry wine and half of our shimmer champagne. That's the LaBelle Winery shimmer, but you could easily also do the red raspberry split in half with Prosecco or Cava or some kind of beautiful bubbly.
Awesome. That sounds delicious. Raspberry daiquiri, raspberry and champagne.
It works.
Awesome. Well,
so that's all of our wines.
I hope everybody is tasting along at home as we speak. So we do have a really exciting week planned. If you've enjoyed spending some time with LaBelle Winery in Amherst, New Hampshire, we have some additional New Hampshire wineries on the docket for this week. Lisa, who do we have coming up this week?
Hi there. So we have Moonlight Meadery tomorrow night, they're from Londonderry, New Hampshire. We have Hermit Woods that is going to be on Wednesday night, and then we'll have Hermit Woods tomorrow, and then we're having Bogle on Friday night.
Oh, and we have Sweet Baby on Thursday.
Yeah, Sweet Baby on Thursday. Sorry about that. But yeah, I just wanted to thank Amy for everything tonight, and I'll have to stop by and pick up one of those drink recipe books. Some of those recipes sound delicious. And to everyone out there tonight, I hope you enjoyed this virtual event. And many of these wines are located right in throughout New Hampshire in our liquor stores, and they basically range from $14.99 to $19.99. So we love supporting New Hampshire wineries and distilleries. We're so lucky to have great wineries in New Hampshire, and we like to continue to support the New Hampshire wineries. We also have a program that we do. It's a monthly sale program that offers customers a discount 10% off when you purchase 3 bottles or more of any wine or spirit. So stop by one of our locations and support local.
Lisa, could you tell everybody on the line a little bit about our New Hampshire Rack program?
Yeah, so monthly we select 2 New Hampshire wineries, and we just prominently display the wines. We have great pricing out there for them, and like I said, you can get 10% off 3 bottles or more. And it just showcases, and we just try to help support local. You'll find them in a prominent area in just about any of our liquor stores.
Great, thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
And so then just to kind of wrap things up, Amy, I've got one more question for you.
Okay.
Everybody is very intrigued by your Cosmo, and they were wondering if you could share the ingredient list one more time.
Absolutely. And also there's a ton of wine cocktail recipes on our website too. So please feel free to jump on our website and get some more, but here's the Cosmo.
All right, so that's 4 ounces LaBelle cranberry, 1 ounce triple sec, 1 ounce fresh lime juice. The recipe calls for sugar, but that's where Amy used the agave, ice cubes, and colored sugar for rimming the glass. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Seems like the cranberry might, I mean, I'm not just saying this because I love it. It seems like the people on the line love it.
It's different, it's fun.
Let's see here. Oh, the recipe said 1 teaspoon sugar. So do you do 1 teaspoon agave also, or do you switch that?
No, agave to me is a little sweeter than sugar. So in the agave, I just add to taste. It's more like a half a teaspoon probably. But if you have a real sweet tooth, you might want to add more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining us tonight. It was such a pleasure to kick off this special New Hampshire focused wine week with you. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us tonight. We're so sorry to everybody on Facebook who got disconnected for a few minutes, but we were able to get back online really quickly. So we hope you didn't miss anything. If so, please leave a comment with any questions that you had, and we will answer them for you.
Thank you for having me, ladies.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much. Please visit 90daysaroundtheworld.com if you'd like more information about our passport or about future events. We've got some great stuff coming up. I mean, this week alone, 3 more New Hampshire wineries. It's going to be awesome. And so thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.